views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to the Bronx Spotlight. In this show, we highlight the people, events, and places that make the Boogie Down Bronx one of a kind. Today, we are featuring our very own Bronx Borough President, Ruben Diaz Jr., and one of the ways he serves our community. I'm your host, Angel Almonte, and this is the Bronx Spotlight. Welcome to the Bronx Spotlight. Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. is a man of the community, and to kick things off, we take you back to when he sent high school students to Washington for the March of Our Lives, where students from all over the country showed that their voices would not go unheard any longer. Let's take a look.
Bronx high school students gathered at 6 a.m. to travel to Washington, D.C. They will join students from around the country protesting gun violence.
I am feeling very empowered to make a change for once.
How many of you, by a show of hands, know someone who's been affected by gun violence? Raise your hand. Anybody here who's been affected by gun violence or knows someone who has been, a family member? You march for them, make noise for them, express yourself however way you want. You can chant, you can scream, you can sing, you can rap a 16 bars, you can milli rock, do whatever it is that you want. You go over there, you represent the Bronx, you represent the youth. I'm here today to tell you that we're proud of you.
Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. secured 4 buses to take students to the March for Our Lives rally.
This is a way that we support our youth so they can express themselves, so they can send a loud message to the NRA, to those in Washington, D.C., that enough is enough. Whether you're a Latino or an African American from New York City or a white student from the South, too many of our youth across the nation have been affected by gun violence. And it has to stop.
Feeling outraged and helpless, students were empowered to take a stand for their rights.
No rational argument. The NRA is the National Rifle Association, and they want to keep the guns. They want to protect our Second Amendment right, but at the cost of children's lives, at the cost of millions are dying from bullet guns that they are helping reproduce. And so that is not a rational argument in my sense.
I hope to accomplish going to D.C., I hope to see a lot of passion in people's eyes when going there, because I understand that this is a very big issue and this is a very big thing that Congress cannot avoid. So I hope to make change.
As students are off to D.C. to march for their lives, they hope by rallying together that Congress will make the necessary change to keep them safe.
The Irish community embraced Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. as he hosted his annual St. Patrick's Day celebration. Reporter Arlene Mukoko tells us more.
It's Irish Heritage Month here in the Bronx, and there's no better place to be than here at the Rambling House in the Woodlawn section.
So I'm half Irish, so I'm half Spanish and Irish. So every year when they ask me to sing at this, I love doing it. I'm proud to be Irish.
I was born in Ireland, left there New Year's Day 1954, which is quite a few summers ago.
That's where Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. held his annual celebration, honoring 3 leaders who had their start right here in the Bronx.
The Irish community has been coming here in big numbers since the 1860s. They've been settling in areas like the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, especially in this area of Woodlawn.
Well, I always refer to March as the High Holy Month of St. Patrick's Day.
From Queens, Anne Marie Anzalone shared her father grew up in the Fordham section. Today, she's chief of staff to Congressman Joseph Crowley, whose district covers parts of Queens and the Bronx.
The Irish spirit is about laughter and good times and love. Even in the terrible times, you always have to try and find something remarkable about the spot that you're in, and the Irish community always rallies around.
So when you look at our waterways, when you look at our infrastructure, our docks, and today you look at elected officials, teachers. Our police commissioner is Irish. And there's so much that we can celebrate with regards to contribution.
I grew up in the Bronx, born and raised in the South Bronx and High Bridge. I lived all over the Bronx.
Mike McGuire, director of Mason Tinder's District Council Political Action Committee, talked about his years as a child growing up in the borough.
My parents were immigrants, and the Bronx to me has always been sort of the incubator for immigrant groups when they come seeking the American dream.
Woodlawn celebrates the Irish culture 365 days a year.
Master of Ceremonies Derek Woods, executive director of the Riverdale Children's Theater, joined the borough president for a Q&A, giving the audience a greater understanding of the honorees and their lives and what it means for them to be Irish.
Tonight is a great example of how important we celebrate our Irish culture, our heritage, and certainly, as you can hear, our great music.
It's a great day to be Irish and from the Bronx as the borough celebrates 150 years since the Irish came to New York and into communities like this one here in Woodlawn. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
Thank you, Arlene. Fire safety isn't something a lot of people take into consideration. In the light of the deadliest fire in our city within the last 25 years, our borough president, along with other city officials, announced a fire safety legislation that can save lives.
So we believe that with a mechanism such as this one, you put it on the backs, on the stove side, you clamp it on, the knob would stick out here, and then you just cover the knob. The child now cannot turn the knob.
It's a small device, but one that could have prevented the city's deadliest blaze in at least 25 years, shared Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., standing with New York City Council members Richie Torres and Haim Deutsch outside a 5-story building on Prospect Avenue off 187th Street, where in late December, a fire sparked by a child playing with the stove sent flames throughout the building, tragically taking the lives of 13 people.
And it could only be made available to apartments where we have young kids, so landlords don't have to worry about buying it for everyone. But even if they're concerned with the price tag, as I said earlier, we should not put a price tag on lives.
Along with requiring owners of buildings with 3 or 4 units to provide and properly install stove safety devices on all stoves and units where a child or children 10 years or younger reside, the legislation sponsored by Diaz Jr. would also require the fire department, in coordination with the Department of Education, to implement a comprehensive plan for educating children and parents about fire safety and prevention.
So it's very important to have that plan in place and discuss fire safety prevention bits with your family, and this would definitely save lives. So we need to bring.
And another would require that landlords post notices indicating that those escaping fires should close all doors behind them. Now displaced and continuing to grieve the loss of 5 family members, including her 2- and 7-year-old cousins, was Katie and Blake.
It would be amazing if this would prevent someone else from experiencing the tragedy that our family has experienced.
It's not enough to mourn tragedy, we have to learn from tragedy and then apply those lessons learned in the form of laws that will ensure that we're safe in the future.
It was shared before, this is a fire that could have been prevented. Legislation will be introduced today in the City Council, and there's hope that it will pass in a matter of weeks. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Hello and welcome back to the Bronx Spotlight. The highly successful film Black Panther has made waves in pop culture, and back when it was coming out, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. teamed up with the Shadow League to screen the movie to students from the Bronx. Veronica Guidi brings us the story.
Unless you're under a rock, you've been hearing about the highly anticipated Marvel film Black Panther. Thanks to the Borough President's Office and the Shadow League, a group of students received complimentary tickets for opening night.
Yusuf Khan of the Shadow League had many good memories growing up here in the Bronx with his family. So when he got the opportunity to buy out a theater at the Multiplex Cinema on 161st Street, he did not hesitate, saying that being able to come back and do this for the students of Taft High School, especially on Black History Month, was the perfect fit.
Well, I think we really have not seen a black lead, We have not seen characters of color that are leading an entire movie, not just parts of it, but an entire movie, a black director, full black cast. So, when you have these types of things, you want to celebrate it, you want to honor and discuss it, and I think that's what we're enabling the audience to do today.
I am excited to have a group of Bronxites here with our Bronx fathers taking action and their children, where we have men in the Bronx spending an evening in the Bronx here, as well as our Bronx Youth Court, all of our youth volunteers. This is the way we reward our youth. And what better way during this Black History Month celebration than to be in the movies and have the premiere of the Black Panther.
We are home.
What a lot of people don't know is the Black Panther was created by Stan Lee, and Stan Lee from Marvel Comics used to live in the Bronx. And this is a long time in the making, and it's a wonderful way to spend some quality time with the kids and reward our youth volunteers, but it's also a way to show our children that we come from heroes.
Rudy Blanco, one of the teaching staff at the Taft High School campus, said his kids couldn't believe the news that they were going to see the movie for free.
So when they came to us like, hey, we want to give them some, Black Panthers, we were like, oh, that's awesome. And then we pitched it to them and they were super excited about it.
I just heard everyone saying that it was going to be revolutionary. So I was like, I want to be a part of it.
The movie did indeed make revolutionary headlines, as it was the first Disney movie to have an international release, opening in many countries in Africa. The movie is also set to surpass Deadpool's President's Day weekend sales of $152 million. The movie has already had great success on preview night, bringing in a whopping $25.2 million, making it the largest preview gross for a February opener and the second largest preview gross for a Marvel film. The first is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
This movie met all expectations, but there won't be any spoilers here. Make sure you find yourself in a theater real soon. For BronxNet, I'm Veronica Guiti.
Thank you, Veronica. There's no better love than love that lasts. The borough president celebrated just that as he honored couples who have been married for over 50 years back in Valentine's Day. Let's take a look.
Love was in the air for the Sweethearts Luncheon at the Villa Barone Manor, and the only requirement for this private event hosted by Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., a marriage of 50 years or more. First place winners, Josephine and Vincent Beretta, who is 92 years old. They've been married for 70 years.
I took care of him all these years. That's why he looks so good.
With laughter a main ingredient of their success, the other is patience and endurance.
When you get married and you struggle, it's the best thing. Anything that comes easy is no good.
Yes, whatever you say, honey.
And married for 28 years himself, Diaz Jr. shared that the Sweethearts Luncheon he hosts each year on Valentine's Day, featuring ballroom dancers from PS 72, is an opportunity to both admire and acknowledge these couples from the Bronx.
Today is a celebration of love, and I believe that the word love is the most powerful word in the universe. And when you exhibit love, is the number one thing that it's the most powerful thing that we could do as human beings. And what greater example than to celebrate it here in the Bronx with couples who have been married over 50 years. We have a very elite group of people who are partying inside, who are maybe up there in age, but put us all to shame with their energy. I myself have been with my wife for 28 years. And you think about this thing called love, that it's not easy, that you have to work on day in and day out. That in this case, with the folks that you see there, have outlasted brick and mortar. And so we are here joined by our dancers, Young World and PS 72, but we're celebrating love on St. Valentine's Day, and we're doing it the right way by acknowledging and recognizing those couples who have persevered and are a model, not only to Bronxites, but to New Yorkers and the rest of the country as to what it means to truly be in love.
And another feeling the love, key sponsor George Holtz from Health First.
Oh, this is a very important day for Health First. To celebrate people in the Bronx who've been married 50 or more years is quite outstanding.
And outstanding is a great way to describe Francis and Arthur's marriage.
We're very close, really, really close, like sisters and brothers. We're good friends.
We breakfast every morning in bed. Brings me coffee and makes pancakes or eggs.
That's Fran Stein talking about her husband of 60 years, John Stein.
He told you that?
Well, they've been married for 50 years or more. They have stood the test of time, and the borough president is saying that this is love in the Bronx. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to visit us at bronxnet.org and social media. Until next time, this is Angel Almonte.